My name is Sydney.
My name's Julia.
Welcome to our podcast?
Yeah.
Question mark?
Finding Balance Within podcast.
I'm glad you remember the name because I
I
couldn't
had
think
to
of it.
pull it up.
Okay. I couldn't think of it off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
just had to do that real
Just
quick.
because this is so odd, like recording ourselves.
Well, and labeling ourselves a little bit,
Yeah.
But it's not tied to a label. But the Finding Balance Within one, with all the ones we have, I think not just sound the best, but it can encompass so much.
Yeah. And I feel like when I was thinking of the name, I wanted a name that didn't that said that we were still on a journey, like finding. We're actively still trying to get to a place of finding that balance within, because I feel like there's a lot to learn, but that's a lot that we can still teach at the same time as we're going through it.
I think it's easy. I think kind of what stopped us, one is the fear to do this, but also
still very present.
Yeah, I'm sweating really bad right now, so
that's okay.
Yeah. Anyways,
they wanted tidbit of info.
They wanted to know that.
They're gonna want this.
Yeah.
No. We have to be our weird selves.
I'm Julia and I have hyperhidrosis. Anywho,
we almost named our channel Ruminators Anonymous just because
we do ruminate everything. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, actually, that was a nice little flow
segue
into it.
Yeah.
But the way you said, wait, what do you have?
Hyperhidrosis.
Okay. It just made me think of like Alcoholics Anonymous, and then I thought about our Ruminators Anonymous.
Yeah.
Because that's almost what we named the channel, but it seemed I didn't like that focus because
I don't want to only have that.
Yes,
know what I mean? Because
exactly.
I want to talk about mental health. I want to talk about relationships and family dynamics and all the things
like
and
nutrition, fitness. Like
health,
I feel like there's so much we want to encompass on this channel that it was hard to find the exact name. And I think that's why balance. Like you need to find balance within everything, every area
mind,
of your
body,
life.
soul, nutrition,
right.
Fitness. I mean, you can't. I think we've both been obsessive with nutrition before and fitness.
Yeah.
Like you've really found a good balance. I'm still trying to find that balance with certain things.
Yeah, it ebbs and flows for sure.
Yeah. I'll be in a good spot and then I cut back and so it's just all about trying to get back to that balance.
Right. Like work-life balance, home life, relationship balance. Like I just feel like everything is kind of like a tipping scale that
a little teeter-totter.
Yeah, it is. And it's not so black and white, because I feel like for a long time I was one of those people who thought, it's either right or it's wrong. It's this or that, because that felt safest to me. But I feel like, okay, it's like drinking alcohol. Like, sure, you shouldn't drink alcohol all the time, but does that mean alcohol is the devil and is going to destroy your life? No, it doesn't. You can still do that with balance and enjoy it at certain times. So I just feel like
I definitely am a black or white thinker. Not so much now. I've gotten out of that, but I was.
Yeah.
And life is not black or white. There's certain things that I'm like, that is wrong.
Yeah.
You should not do that.
Yeah, and you're still gonna have those beliefs that are black and white to you, for sure, and you want to be able to stand strong in those.
A lot of that comes from like your core values and your morals and
right.
But other things, there's so many factors that go into why someone does something or why their thought process is that, and it's important to be aware of that.
For sure. So let's kind of kick it off.
Yeah.
As we said, we're talking about ruminating today. We kind of struggled to really decide what we wanted to talk about in our first episode. I feel like we put a lot of pressure behind it because it's the first time we're really putting ourselves out there. So deciding what to talk about felt important. And I feel like ruminating is one of those things that just hits super close to home for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we both struggle with it actively. I mean, we still have to fight it every day, for sure.
Yeah.
And so, no, we're not on the other side to teach you guys, but we'll take you along that journey of what we're doing to improve that for ourselves, for sure.
Yeah, that's great.
So, why don't you read the definition?
So, the definition of rumination is a deep or considered thought about something, which I think pretty much anybody that's listening to this can relate to that.
Yeah, but also, can we talk about how that definition doesn't sound scary? Like,
it's not a tying an association to it. You know what I mean? It's not like a negative thing. You could be ruminating about something positive, essentially. You know what I mean?
That's so true.
I didn't really think about that.
No,
I'm always like negative and dark
bulb moments together on the podcast.
Yeah, but Yeah, that's very true. I didn't really think about that.
Yeah,
The
like the name is just so unassuming, especially because we associate it so negatively.
negatively, yeah.
Yeah. So there's 4 types of brooding.
It's okay.
Correction. See, that's our first little edit. Maybe we can snip that out. Maybe not, honestly.
It's just real.
Yeah, it is.
I think I'm a little. Never mind. I shouldn't say that.
No, yeah, don't identify too much with what
I
you
was
call
gonna say
yourself.
something, but
Was it
it's not.
negative?
It's negative, but it's also part of the reality. But I'm not gonna say it because
Okay.
it's not PC.
Oh, okay. So, when it comes to ruminating, there's 4 types: brooding, reflection, intrusive, and deliberate. We just learned that today,
Which
just so
I
you
didn't.
know.
Yeah, I did not
Yeah.
realize. We both didn't realize that there's 4 types, and I also didn't know what brooding was. Like, I feel like I've heard of it, but I didn't
Yeah,
really know
definitely.
the definition of it. Which the definition is passively thinking about one's mood or situation in a negative way, and I feel extremely called out.
Literally, literally.
Yeah,
Shots fired
yeah. I'm like, oh,
immediately.
cool. Who's
Yeah.
talking about me?
Yeah, the first type we come across and we're like, is that me? Is
It's
that
not
me
me.
right there? Okay, so then the other, we've got reflection, which is intentional inward examination of one's feelings.
Yep. And then intrusive, uncontrollable thoughts related to a stressful event. And then deliberate is actively thinking about a situation to understand it from every side, which I feel like you and I are both good at because we
Yes,
can, even if it's within ourselves, like our situation where you're dealing with, we are both good at like stepping outside of the situation and looking at it from different points of views, which I
definitely.
can appreciate and respect about us. But I also become obsessive about it sometimes, and I'm like,
Yeah,
because I can see it from so many different sides, like I feel like I'm like the best like devil's advocate,
I
but
know.
then I become obsessive about it.
Right.
And then it like creates issues sometimes because if you, not really within us, but like if you're talking about something and you're like, well, have you looked at it from this side? Like sometimes people that, when they're talking to you, they're just trying to vent. They
Mm-hmm.
don't want answers. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, they just want someone to
They
be
just
the.
want someone to listen and hear what they're saying and to validate them in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten into issues with that sometimes because I'll be like, well, have you looked at it from this side?
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
don't want to know that right now.
That was always my first go-to because I, for a long time, was such a positive thinker. Like, I always kind of ignored the negative aspect of a situation and found the positive of it. And I think that's a really good trait to have. But like I was telling you earlier, it's like you still have to allow yourself to feel that emotion, but you don't want to get stuck on that emotion. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong is they get stuck on feeling that emotion and they can't see past it to see the positive things that are still there in their life, the abundance that's still there. So I feel like it can be kind of a slippery slope in
It
there.
definitely can. I mean, I, really truly haven't been through something extremely traumatic. I mean, it's traumatic in my own way, but
Yeah, it was
I
traumatic to
haven't
you
lost
in
a
a
parent,
sense.
sexually abusive and all those things. Like, I don't know what that's like. So when I think most people think of abuse or like traumatic exposure, they associate it with those types of things, and that's not always
Yeah.
what it is.
Mm-hmm.
A traumatic experience can be when you're a little kid and you're in a grocery store and you look up and you can't find mom and dad.
Right.
Like your nervous system takes that and holds on to that. So, um, I don't even remember what I was talking about. So that's cool.
Well, I think we're
I
just
have a
talking
touch of the
about
ADHD.
it, both of us. But I also don't want to identify with that too strongly. Have you?
Yeah,
That's something I've been kind of thinking about recently is some of the labels that we put on ourselves
I'm
and
multifaceted.
how limiting it can be in certain
No,
senses too.
absolutely. I definitely tie myself in with a lot of negative labels, and I
Hmm.
think it stunts my confidence and growth.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I really don't know where I was going with that, but
I
like I
know.
was so confident,
I'm still trying to think.
and then like a squirrel moment just came in. So
Yeah,
that's really cool.
but it was flowing really well, and
It was
that's really
until it
what we want.
wasn't.
Is we want this conversation. So really, why Julie and I started this podcast is because every time we get together, and it's just the two of us,
We have counseling
we
sessions
do
for
essentially.
free.
Yeah, and it's like these fucking three. Oh,
It's fine.
no,
It's
you can
fine.
cuss. You can cuss on YouTube.
It's just a word.
You can cuss on YouTube, so it's okay.
Good.
But we have these conversations, and we spend like 2, 3, 4 hours at times, like talking about life and situations we've been in, helping each other see things from other situations. and like every time we leave that conversation, I just leave like almost like jittery because I feel like so understood and
Yeah, you feel seen and heard, and I think that's the goal of this podcast is we want to make, whether you are young and you're like a teenager, you're growing up, or you're
in your
you're
20s
in
trying
your
to figure
20s,
yourself
mid
out
20s,
like
late 20s,
us.
30, like whatever age you are, we know that this is going to resonate with somebody, and that is the goal, because we just have been feeling called to do this for a while now. We've just let our own self-doubt and limiting
And
beliefs and
fears.
fears
Yeah.
stop us. So we're putting it into that
Yeah,
today.
for sure. And like I told Julia, I feel like I measure success off of numbers in a lot of ways. And so, it's like, how many people is actually going to be helped by this? But it's like, if
If
there's two
one person,
females in this
yeah,
world that we help that make them feel less alone or more understood, like,
I
that's
mean,
enough for
there's
me.
that quote that says like be who you needed when you were younger, and
Yeah,
I think the best thing you can do, any individual can do, is every day try to be that person that you needed when you were younger.
right.
You know?
Yeah, yeah. Show up for yourself for
Yeah.
sure. But so back to ruminating itself. I feel like it's something that we both have dealt with very closely, but we weren't able to identify what it was.
Yeah.
I don't think for a long time, I didn't even know the word rumination,
I
Like,
think you brought it up to me. Like I kind of like I knew about it, but
yes.
I didn't really
And
know about
that
it.
I learned that from another YouTube channel. I was listening to some girl's podcast, and there was like a couple of videos that I came across recently, and it was like something about rumination this, rumination that, how to stop this rumination. It's like it just kept popping up to me, almost like, hey,
The word
blink, blink.
surrender keeps
Yeah.
popping up to me, and I'm like,
Oh,
I
really?
know, I'm working on
Yes,
it.
yeah. It's those little messages that we're getting that it kind of tells you you're on the right track and that's
Yeah,
something you need to look
absolutely.
into. And so, yeah, I mean, I came across a video about ruminating and just talking about how it doesn't serve you. And she kind of explained like what her rumination like looks like. And I'm like, oh, so that's me, huh?
You're like,
Because,
we can relate.
yeah, exactly. And so then I think I sent you a video on this and I'm like, girl,
Dude, this is us.
yeah,
Yeah.
literally. And then it's just like a light bulb moment. And so then you can't unhear it or unsee it. And it's like could see the rumination in myself. And we're live.
And we're back. I had a phone call real quick, so I had to deal with that.
Very important message that
Yep.
needed to be received.
Super important.
Honestly, I can't remember where we were at in that conversation. Can you pinpoint?
I think we were talking about how like you are the one who kind of brought up the rumination, and like you were watching someone else's YouTube and podcasts and stuff,
It kept getting shown to me.
yeah, and it's like being still enough to be able to be open to receive those messages from God,
That's
universe, whatever you identify with.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's the beauty of it, and like that's why we wanted to start this podcast. So
yeah, just to help people. So let's kind of, I guess, reflect back a little bit and think about. Actually, no, let's talk about some of the symptoms of rumination first.
Okay.
And then we can kind of talk about our personal experience, like try to give some examples for people and stuff like that.
Okay. So some of the symptoms of rumination are excessive thinking and or talking about a painful topic or behavior. Again, called out. Concentration problems, called out. Loss of energy or motivation, ding ding ding. Excessive fatigue or excessive sleeping.
Oof.
And
all of the above?
Yeah, exactly.
That should be the last symptom. Can I check
Table
all
for two?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's only two of us doing this shit, but
no, there's
man.
way more people that are experiencing this. And that's the thing. We're like, I feel like there's so many more people out there like us.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't met them yet, or whatever.
Right.
Like,
or maybe they're not at a place where they like it's still unconscious for them, like it was for us for so long. Like we didn't know actively what we were doing to kind of mess up our mindset.
Yeah, we didn't know why, or like when you're not consciously aware of your thoughts, they will, one, control your life.
Yeah.
And two, like it just opens up a whole new can of worms when you are consciously aware. And it's still a daily progress and process, but I don't know. I'm glad to be on that journey, but
yeah. I mean, it's hard becoming more aware of the things you do that are negative for yourself, because then you kind of want to go into a self-protection mode where you're like, oh, you want to deny, oh, I don't want to identify with that, or I don't do that.
And I think that's an important thing to note is like it's probably common to go through that like in denial phase.
Yeah,
Of like that's
definitely.
not me. Like
And that's just you being protective of
yeah,
yourself,
like your little inner child, like you need to protect yourself, like keep yourself at peace. Like I didn't deal with that. I don't have those traits. Like no, that's not me. It's
Yeah.
like it is, and that's okay.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Well, it's like the more you know, the more you can grow, as they say.
Oof, look at that.
Oof, love that. Thank you. Little pat on my back. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like my own examples
I know, me too.
about this, but I literally feel like even this weekend, like I don't want to get too into like my life yet with you guys.
Yeah, we gotta
But
get there.
yeah, like I like the concentration thing, like I will be ruminating about a conversation that I had with someone or like excessive thinking and or talking about a painful topic. Like I think it all ties into the concentration stuff because I will be trying to do stuff on my computer for like school stuff and then I'm like this conversation I had with so and so, like I should have said that. Like why didn't I say that? Why did I respond that way? Like or they responded with a period instead of an exclamation point.
Literally.
They're pissed off at me. It's like, oh my god. Like
yeah, part of
they
it
said K instead of okay. The world's ending.
Yes. Yeah, part of it is like reading too much into things at times.
Tyler turned away from me in bed. We broke up. He didn't tell me.
Yeah, literally.
Like it's not that deep.
No.
But in our brains we make it that deep.
Yeah. Well, and with situations like that where we're reading too much into what we shoulda, coulda, woulda said, what someone said to us, how their tone sounded, like when you're reading too much in that sense, that really kind of trickles back to childhood where you're just doing what you can to make yourself feel safe. And so you base, at least in my childhood, I based a lot of how safe my environment was on how everyone around me felt. So if someone else didn't feel good, like I associated that with, okay, I need to make sure they feel good so that,
Well, it makes, I think I know it tunes you out of your own self. Like you withdraw from yourself and how you should, like how you're intuitively feeling because you are then so in tune with other people that you forget how to be in tune with yourself. Like you learn to not trust yourself anymore because you're so focused on reading the room and trying to keep yourself in a safe space and place and environment because you're like, I'm gonna walk on eggshells because this person gets upset about that. So like I'm not gonna trigger them or because I want to keep it a safe space.
Yeah.
And that is how I know how to keep myself safe.
Yeah, but you're like not honoring yourself at the same time. And then the more you continue to ruminate on shoulda said this, shoulda said that, you just like deepen that separation between you and your inner self because you question yourself.
I think also that's why there's like midlife crises or crises.
For sure.
That's not the word crisis. Midlife crisis?
Yeah.
I said crisis.
Oh, I wasn't even gonna notice that part.
I wasn't gonna call you out or anything.
No, sure wasn't.
I called myself out, which I usually always will. But yeah, so I think that's why whether you're
another negative trait of yours.
Thanks. I always need you to help me out there. Whether you're 50 years old or you're 25 years old or you're just starting your 20s, like I think that's why people feel like at a loss and hopeless because they're like, I don't even know who I am because you've been living. I mean, I've gone through that. It's like, I thought I had these values and morals and a lot of them are still pretty intact from, the way I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still some things that have changed. And that was hard for me to let go of because I was like, no, this is who I am. This is my identity. This is who I am. I can't change this. And it's like,
it's scary.
You can change and it's okay to change and grow and evolve. Like that's what we're supposed to do as a human.
Right.
And once you know better, you can do better, you know? So that's just all what it comes down to. And I don't know. I feel like as a kid, like you get told the level of consciousness your parents have or your guardians have.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how you were raised. Yeah, it's your baseline. So then when you grow up, it's like you almost have to unlearn all these behaviors and maybe even values and morals that what really feels right to you and aligned with you and your truest highest self.
Right.
There's still some things that are just wrong though. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to confuse anybody, so we can talk about that later.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of some situations I've went through with rumination lately. I feel like a lot of my rumination centered around, well, one, I've heard that when you're ruminating, it feels productive to you because you're kind of thinking about how sometimes you would better handle a situation in the future or how you should have responded in the past. So, like, there's that positive aspect of like you're trying to reflect and know better so you can do better, but it just gets into that negative cycle to where you're almost beating up on yourself in some senses, or you're telling yourself narratives that aren't always accurate and true. So then when you're constantly reinforcing to yourself that because you keep repeating it to yourself and keep recycling through it, then those beliefs and those truths that really aren't truths become more prominent and you almost believe them more, you
Well,
know?
yeah, I mean, it's like we talked about earlier. I don't think we were recording yet, but if you tell yourself like ruminating can be like excessive thinking or talking about a painful topic. Like I did this all throughout high school, all throughout college. Like, oh, I failed this test or I didn't get this grade. I'm so stupid. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so dumb. Like, I should know this. Like, my class did way better than me. Like, what's wrong with me? I ruminate on that. And then I literally, my brain looks for all these reasons to fulfill that narrative.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, when you were 7, you fell off your bike, idiot. I don't
Right.
know, just stupid stuff like that, that your brain literally is going to pull from your past because it wants to feed that narrative. But you got to rewire your brain to think about the positive things. And it's like, I'll do better next time.
Yeah.
Like almost untying the emotion to
Mm-hmm.
things. And I'm really trying to work on that
Yeah.
because
It's
I,
hard.
like with my face issues I'm having right now, it's like you said, you're like, maybe this is teaching you that like it's an inner child thing, like
Mm-hmm.
you associate like not having acne and stuff as like being more worthy. And now that I have stuff going on, it's like I feel
Makes you
less worthy.
question.
I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. It's all the enough.
Yeah.
And it's like, is anyone? No, it's
Right.
not real. You can't obtain perfectionism. It's just not real.
Yeah.
So stop trying. Me.
Just
Um,
talking to myself here.
yeah. So I think that's also what it comes down to as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, I can relate to the loss of energy and motivation aspect because, a few, 3, 4 months ago, like I was not doing as well mentally. And I realized that was in a state that I was in rumination like all the time. Like I was always ruminating about something because, in a way, again, it felt productive. Like I was still trying to better myself or improve in a way, I think is what I kind of was telling myself, by reprocessing these things or thinking about it all the time. I was becoming more mentally clear or my higher self in some sense. And it was just really unhealthy. And again, it didn't come out to me. I didn't recognize it until I kept coming across these rumination videos and I was like, oh shit, like this lines up with me. So like with the loss of energy, motivation, excessive fatigue, like that's all stuff that I was highly dealing with during that time. Like it just I yeah, I wanted to sleep all the time. I feel like you've been through that too.
Oh yeah, like I will obsess, or I always think obsess instead of ruminate, but it's the same thing. I feel like
Yeah.
essentially,
Yeah.
um, give so much attention to about something, and like it affects my body so profoundly now that like I honestly feel like my nervous system shuts down. Like
Mhm.
I end up getting sick. I get sore throats. My body aches.
Yeah.
I feel worthless, like not just internally, but like even externally. Like I don't want to do dishes. I don't want to cook food, which I love cooking and stuff. Like I love making home meals. Like my sense of hope is gone
Yeah.
because I'm obsessing over something and it's always something negative. It's
Yeah.
never something positive.
Yeah.
So to
When it's
like,
like how can you have the energy to clean the house, cook the dinner when you're mentally spent
You like
all of your
exerted yourself
energy throughout.
mentally and emotionally that you have nothing left to give.
Yeah.
And I think if anyone's watching this that can relate to this, give yourself a little bit of grace and
Yeah.
maybe kind of tune into yourself.
So let's kind of talk about some ways that we're working on our rumination. Like,
And
for
go on to
oh, are we supposed
tangents. No, we should go back to what we're supposed to be talking about.
to?
I'm like,
No, I like this. This is still flowing well. People are going to take what they need from these episodes.
Yeah.
And while we do have like a topic in mind, it may go off on a little bit of a tangent because we're so passionate, and I'm going to make those connections where I can in my thought process. I'm not going to
try to just stick to one thing and have bulleted points that you have to abide by.
Right. I want our conversations to just flow like they do when we're just sitting on the couch talking.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be like this bullet point, like I feel like it just needs to
kind of takes away the authenticity of it,
Absolutely. So really just kind of the ways that we try to manage it. I feel like one, just learning about rumination, being exposed to it, it made me more consciously aware of the ways that I was doing it, and hearing other people talk about, their experience with it. It made me make more connections to, yeah, I do that. Oh, I do that too. Okay. And so it's like once you're aware of it, then you can at least take notice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in the moment, especially with the situations where I talk about, I make up these scenarios in my head that haven't happened yet, but want to be prepared for. And like that would happen, like if I was cleaning the house or doing the dishes, like I would just be in my own head lollygagging and, oh yeah, I'm prepared for if this happens or if they say this.
If they pull out the Uno reverse card.
Yeah. And so now I just having that just clicked.
I don't know why. I know I was like,
that's the
why aren't
ADHD,
you laughing at me?
though.
Does she not find it funny?
No, that's the ADHD. It takes like a 3-second delay before it clicks in.
It's okay, that's my life.
Dylan he'll tell me something and I'll say what, and then 2 seconds later it registers what he said to me, and so he's repeating himself, and
You're
then
like,
I'm answering
I'm
speaking over answering his question.
Yeah, I do the
so
same
I'm like
thing.
trying to work on not saying what so quick.
It's like if you stub your toe and it didn't fucking hurt, but you're like, ow.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. Yeah, I'll be like, I don't know why I said
unconscious.
That. It didn't hurt. Yeah, I just thought I was supposed to
or
say
Dylan
that.
will be like, we'll be play fighting, and he's like, you literally said ow before I hit you.
I was anticipating.
Yeah.
I was assuming that it was going to hurt me.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, but anyways, so one of the things I was doing is like just being consciously aware of, oh, you're taking note, or you're thinking about something that hasn't even happened yet. Like now that I'm aware of how that happens, I can at least reflect back in the moment and be like, wait a minute, why am I thinking about this? Why am I giving this thought?
I think what has probably helped you so much, I'm going to answer for you because I know you better than yourself.
Oh, good. Honestly, please do. You probably do.
I think your meditation has probably helped profoundly on you being able to be more in the moment. And that's something I'm trying to be better about.
Yeah.
And I get inspired by you. And I think we all could do better just slowing down and being in the moment, because obviously the more you know, you can kind of tie things like, oh, this is why I probably think this way, or this thought is, tying to this narrative I tell myself, or, whatever it may be. But if you can get back into the moment, whether you're doing dishes or folding laundry, and you can be like, you're dwelling on a thought or a conversation, or like if this person comes at me with this, I'm going to respond this way. And it's like, okay, Sydney, this isn't happening right now. I'm folding laundry right now.
Yeah. I'm perfectly happy in my beautiful home with my beautiful husband, like fucking living life. And I'm sitting here making up these scenarios that
will never fucking happen.
Yeah.
And if they do, guess what? You're a big girl, you'll be equipped, and you'll answer it the way you've already probably thought about 27 times.
Yeah. That's so true. I'm so glad you brought up the meditation, because I feel like meditation has taught me how to be present in the moment, and that your brain doesn't always have to be turning. Like you can just sit there and enjoy being a human. Like
I think
sit here and bask in the life that you have, because as much struggles as you have within that life, it's a fucking beautiful life, especially compared to what other people, might be experiencing.
Yeah.
So I feel like meditation has just been oh, you can take a break from thinking and putting these narratives in your head.
I think that's why I'm always so tired all the time because my brain doesn't shut the hell
Yes,
up.
literally. Yeah,
And
you don't get a rest
it
at
is
all.
like the most exhausting thing to live in my head.
Well, and I know
10
you
out
were
of
dealing
10
with
don't recommend.
insomnia and like waking up in the middle of the night
Yeah, I
too.
was waking up at like 3 a.m. and I
And then your
think
brain would start turning,
yeah,
right?
and I'm like, oh my god, I should have done that. I should have done that. Like even like way past, not like like months ago, like years ago. Like
Yeah.
I should have handled this. I shouldn't have done that in my life. I should have, like all the things. And it's like, let it go.
Literally.
Like literally,
Let it go. Let it go.
honestly
I
though.
had to. I haven't even seen the movie, but
What?
shout out to Frozen.
I guess they're probably too
Me,
older.
yeah,
Yeah, they're old enough
they
to not
missed
listen to
that
it. Yeah.
era.
Okay. It's actually kind of fucking good.
I have,
I
yeah.
haven't watched it in a long time, but yeah.
I just love Kristen Bell, so really I should just watch it
You
to
should.
listen to her voice.
Yeah. Um, I don't remember what I was saying.
Just talking about your rumination and how it would wake you up in the middle of the night
Yeah, I've
too,
gotten
and
a lot better about that. I usually am pretty good about sleeping throughout the night now. But yeah, I mean, I
that's
think
good.
I still sometimes have a hard time going to bed at night, like
Mm-hmm.
falling asleep, getting my body to like unwind.
Guess what? I've got the fix for that. They have go to sleep meditations. And you just turn your phone on and you listen to a meditation to fall asleep. And it always puts me to sleep within like 3 minutes. And I don't do it all the time. I only do it if I'm consciously struggling on going to sleep. If I'm like thinking a negative thought and I'm like, this isn't helping,
You're like,
then I'll
shut
just turn
up.
on a 10-minute YouTube sleep meditation. I'm asleep by minute 5.
Really? That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to test that out. I'll
Yeah.
send you some.
That would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, meditating, wow. It really has been such a game changer for me.
I like want to manifest that about myself. I want to be this yogi, freaking spiritual, like in tune, enlightenment. Like, I want to be all the things.
Yeah.
But I'm like pissed off if you don't put your cart back up when you're at the grocery store, and that's gonna ruin my entire day because I think you're a shitty human being. And if you cut me off in traffic, like you're the worst person ever. And you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
it's just so funny to think back of like, this is what I want to be, but I'm right here right now.
Yeah.
There's a little bridge in the gap right now, but that's okay. I'll get
Right.
to that point, that person. But every day you have to try to do better than the day before.
Yeah. And I think that kind of even talking about like looking at what other people are doing and being judgmental in a sense. And I'm very guilty of that. Like I didn't realize how guilty I was of it, like consciously just like giving my thought to how someone else is living their life or what they're doing. And it's like, why am I wasting my energy on that, first of all? But I do think a part of it was that it made me feel better about myself in some ways.
I think that's humanistic. Is that a word?
I don't know, but I like it.
We're gonna
I
make it
like
a
it.
word. If it's not a word, it's a word today.
Humanistic.
I feel like I've heard it before,
I don't
but
know.
it's fine.
We're gonna Google it after.
It's gonna be like, in fact, not a word. um,
Er,
yeah, but I think it's human nature to judge others as much as like you don't want to, and as like a Christian, you're not supposed to judge others, blah blah blah, which is true, you're not. But again, like sometimes it's even unconsciously, like I don't, I'm not like today I'm gonna wake up and be an asshole in my head, like
yeah.
no. But like sometimes you see something and you're like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah,
Like
because you're like, I would never fucking do that. Which
yeah,
is, I mean,
it comes back to like your core values, and that's what Derek has said. Because I was telling him, I was like, I literally watched this chick that got in this nice ass Escalade that like she parked by a curb at Costco, like, and she just like, what am I trying to say? Curbed her cart
mm,
instead of going to put it back, and she was not that far away from a little cart thing.
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah,
and it
see,
just
that
like
shit pissed me off.
fueled my mother effing fire.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, maybe she had a baby. Like he was trying to, play devil's advocate. He was like,
Yeah.
maybe she was in a hurry. Maybe she had a baby that was screaming. I was like, I actually watched her pull up to her vehicle. She had no baby. Like I was just like defending everything he was saying, and he was
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm trying to do, like
Right. Helping you see the
helping you,
different
like
perspective.
quit. You don't know what she was going through and why she put that up there and all this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But it
Again,
still pisses me
making
off.
assumptions.
Yeah, but you know what? Like to me, I feel like I'm such a pure person. Not to say that she wasn't, obviously. Like I
Hmm.
know I'm assuming she wasn't, but that to me is like the epitome. I don't even know what word I was about to say. It makes you like a decent, like a good human being. Like,
Mhm.
put the card up, like,
Yeah.
I understand it's
Like,
they
don't be
have
so
don't like
selfish.
I know they have jobs, you know what I mean, people at Costco to take the cards back in, but it's like, why do you have to do that? Like, just do what you're supposed to do, put the card back up.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it can definitely be frustrating at times, but I think that kind of goes into if you're consciously thinking about what other people are doing that's bad, you're having negative thoughts and,
Yeah.
like you're still focused around negative
Well,
thoughts.
and
So,
it's easy too also, like my dad has mentioned before, like, do you ever think I've gotten so much better about my judgment of people. Like, I really have come a long ways of being like, you do you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
you do you.
Mhm.
There's still some things obviously that grind my gears, but
Right.
you do you. Um, but he was like, do you think that, like, in I think in like high school or middle school, he said this to me. He was like, do you think that you're so self conscious and insecure of yourself that everyone's judging you because you judge them? And it was
Bing
like
bing
a
bing.
light bulb moment, and I was
Yeah.
like, damn,
1000%.
you're right, you're right.
Mhm.
Because I was like, I would just like, and it would never be the people that I would never judge people that I knew, family or friends or anything like that. Like, those thoughts wouldn't even really come in my mind. It would be like strangers that I know, just like out and about. And then to reflect back and to think that now, like, I get irritated when I hear someone else judge someone, like, especially about their like physical appearance or weight and stuff like that. Like, I get irritated about that because I'm
Yeah.
like, don't fucking say that. You don't
Mhm.
know what they're dealing with. Like,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm so self conscious about like, the acne and stuff like that. Like, I will never make fun of someone for those types of things because you don't know what they're dealing with. I'm sure most people are self conscious about those types of things. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So
Yeah.
I'm just never going to be that type of person to like pinpoint those things about people.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. Judging is not good, but it is a human thing.
Yeah,
Is
it
it a
is.
word?
Yeah, humanistic. I did look it up. So, relating to or supporting the principles of humanism.
So put your car back.
Basically, that's what you gathered from this.
I know that's such a silly like tangent to go on, and people are gonna be like, "Shut the heck up about a freaking cart. You're dramatic." But I feel like it's like, okay, if you don't put your cart up and you just expect someone else to do it, are you the type of person that's gonna be rude to a janitor and look down on a janitor,
Mhm.
like, and think that they're a shitty, dirty person because they're not a CEO? Like, that's again, it all comes down to like the narrative I'm telling myself,
Yeah.
to fit that I think that you're a crappy person because you didn't put the cart up.
Right. Yeah.
So, I don't
Well,
know.
and I think part of it is we do judge people, one to make ourselves feel better, one to feel like others think that the way that we do. And I think part of it is also because we want there to be more good humans in the world too. And it ruins our faith and belief in the world and even our country or whatever that like we're on the right track. And so it just kind of feels like hopeless when you see the negativity. But again, what you look for, you're always going to see more of,
Oh, yeah.
So it's like we notice these negative things because we're like, oh man, we don't want the world to be like that. We want everyone to be good, take care of each other, do this, do that. Like,
Love and light.
yeah. But at the same time, the more energy and focus that we give to those negative aspects, we're going to continue to see more of it
Oh, yeah.
because
That makes
it
total
just
sense.
it just snowballs from there.
Mm-hmm.
And really that just circles back to ruminating. The more you sit there and think about negative things going on in your life, that's just going to continue to snowball and you're going to find more negative things to fit your narrative. So really it's just about being conscious and catching yourself during those times. Don't get mad at yourself. Don't fucking beat up on yourself, you stupid idiot. Why are you thinking about this?
I
That's not serving you.
do that
That's not helpful
do that
either.
all the time. And it's like,
Oh, am I
that's
calling you out?
yeah, you are, bitch. That doesn't help either.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Like,
No, because then you develop like a self-hatred relationship with yourself like I started to spiral into.
I feel like I am not so much like so serious when it comes to that. Like, I will say those things, but in a joking manner.
Mhm.
But your body and like, this might be too woo woo for some people, but the universe, they don't realize that you're being sarcastic to yourself. Like,
Yeah.
you're still associating that with like the truth behind it. You're just trying to play it off.
Mhm.
You're trying to call yourself out before, someone else can call you out,
Right. Oops.
So,
Yeah. So I really just be conscious, be aware of it. I mean, the more you take notice of it, the more you're going to see it. Be gentle with yourself about it. Meditate about it. Everyone should be fucking meditating. I'm telling you. I
boom,
never would have thought.
mic drop.
Yeah, episode over. No, but seriously, like meditation has just been
A game changer
it
for you.
has. It has. And I'm not even at a place where I'm doing like just meditation to silence or to like, one of those frequency musics. Like I do a guided meditation where I have someone kind of speaking to me and kind of telling me what thoughts to tell myself and what to feel and where to focus my attention on my body. And that guidance kind of helps keep you focused. And yeah, I still stray off and I'll be like, oh, when I get to work, I need to fucking do this or I need to do that. But then it's just about lovingly bringing yourself back. Hey,
Well, it's
come back this way.
it's called a practice for a reason. I'm sure even the most like experienced meditators. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Gosh dang.
Yes, that's a word.
Self-doubt really creeps
Yeah,
in right
literally.
now. But I'm sure they even experience that too, especially if they're having a really busy day or something. Like,
Yeah.
just it's called a practice for a reason, so you just get yourself back to that point.
Yeah. That's all you can do.
Maybe you should do, or we should do, you're more like the pro at it than me, but a video of us meditating or like showing your setup or something.
Yeah,
That might
yeah, because
be
I don't do a fancy setup by any
inspiring to
means.
people. Like, you don't have to have all these meditating pillows and this, wallflower thing in the background and all the things. Like, it can just be however you can use it and make
Yeah.
it.
No, and I want to do like a video on like my morning routine because I feel like that's something that has really kind of snowballed. It starts your day off right, like
Yeah.
if you start with a clean slate um with your mind and you don't let yourself immediately go into those negative thoughts from the previous day or from this or that, then you still have the opportunity to make it a new day and not let the past continue to hinder your future.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's all I've got on rumination. I mean, we could go for hours on it, but it would just be ramblings at that point.
Do let us know though what you think, and as long
Yes.
as it's nice.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't be sending some mean stuff.
Yeah. We can still take it though.
I was gonna say,
We
I
can.
can't take it.
Oh.
No.
Oh.
We can take
Sorry.
it
Yeah.
because we're not little
I'm
bitches.
gonna
Okay?
speak for her. We can take it.
We can take it. It's just don't be a what is I'm trying to say?
Well, here's the thing.
Keyboard hero,
Yeah.
bully, not
Yeah.
hero.
Keyboard warrior.
Yeah,
I think
keyboard
that's
warrior,
yeah.
where you think that you're hot shit because you're gonna say mean things. Like, you don't matter.
Just food for thought. If you want to leave a negative comment, if you didn't like this video, if there's something that just was horrible and you want to leave a mean comment, do it. But I want you to just take the conscious thought of why am I so concerned about what someone else is posting or like why? Still post it. I don't care, honestly. But you need to reflect on that and think, why am I giving my energy or telling someone else that this is bad? And it's because it's making you feel better about yourself.
And why did you watch our like 30-minute video?
That's true to get to this point to know about leaving the negative comment.
Yeah.
Hey,
Something had
if
to have
people
been
leave negative
intriguing.
comments, we should just do a timestamp to when we started talking about this.
Yes.
You need to watch from this point on.
That's so funny.
So, I
Yeah.
love this. This was our first episode.
Yeah.
I feel like we could talk for hours more.
We just wanted to be nonchalant, like you're like
That's why we chose the bed.
yes,
This is my bedroom.
yes, very therapeutic in here, very cozy and comforting, and we want that type of vibe
Yeah,
to
we're not going
come out to you when you watch the video. We're not trying to be all like studious and
perfect.
perfect
We're
because
not.
it's not real.
And that's why it took us so long to start this channel, was because
We put so much pressure on how it had to
being
be.
perfect,
Yeah.
had to know it all. But the most that I've ever learned from other people on YouTube or podcasts or anything is the people who are willing to be vulnerable with me. Like, that's the people who have had the true strength to persevere or to better themselves. Like, that's where I've learned the most, is from people talking about what they're going through.
Well, and the thing is, like, that's where people relate to and feel like they can resonate with. I'm not saying you don't watch other things where people are like multimillionaires and all the
Yeah.
things, and you're like, I want to be them someday and all the things, but what feels most resonating is when you can just sit down and watch someone that is just like you,
Yeah.
that has similar difficulties or past experiences, and I can relate to them. Like, they're not who I thought they were,
Mhm.
like that's what it should be about.
Yeah. Yeah. And shout out to Ella Ringrose because she's
Yes.
the one who finally convinced us to start this podcast. Not by talking to us, just by her videos, watching her.
She doesn't know who the hell we are.
No, no, not at all. She's huge. I mean, she's doing great things.
Yeah.
But one thing about her channel that I really loved was she would make errors in the video and she would just leave them in and go with the flow, and
Because
it's
it
like,
makes you. Like,
yeah.
I'm sure we're gonna watch this video and be like, "Oh,
Yeah,
yikes!"
in some ways we're going to cringe at things, but it's like it's about the self-acceptance of it, and like we're all imperfect and we're going to do our podcast imperfect sometimes, but it's like that's real.
Like, we
And that's
don't
what people
have,
need more of, is
yeah,
real.
we don't have like a nice. I mean, this is a nice setup for us. Obviously, it
Yeah.
works, but we don't. We're using an iPhone right now. We
Yeah.
don't have money
These
put
are
into
like
this,
$19.99 mics on Amazon. Shout out to
and
Amazon.
they're wonderful.
They are, honestly. We could do this, forever, honestly. If
Yeah,
this is all that the podcast ever becomes, like, cool.
that's fine. I'm
Yeah.
fine with that.
Because guess what? I'm still fucking sitting here talking with my best friend, which is what I'd rather do over anything, anyways. So,
Stop it.
okay, we're
Okay,
done.
we're tuning out.
Peace out.
Girl Scout.